everybody, it is Qcknd, and welcome back to another episode of Tattoo Talk Tuesday. If it is your first time watching, Tattoo Talk Tuesday is our weekly cute interactive tattoo talk show where I take your guys' questions and I try to lend my experience as a tattoo collector to you guys via the show. So today, we are going to talk all about jobs I've had as a tattooed person. I was hoping to get somebody on my channel so we could kind of talk a little bit more because I can only give you my experience, which is, I guess, limited, although I've had a lot of jobs. So, if I can continue this and kind of get somebody else involved, I would love to have another episode in the future about jobs you can have as a tattooed person. Today we're going to talk about jobs that I've had, and I've had like 7, so stay tuned and definitely leave comments below if you are a tattooed person who is in a work atmosphere. I get a lot of questions about this, and I think there is also a lot of stigma about getting tattoos and not being able to have a job or career. I think every year tattoos become more and more socially acceptable, and if you are worried that getting a tattoo might keep you from getting a job, definitely stay tuned. And if you're into this hair and makeup look, I definitely have a tutorial coming out for it this weekend, so stay tuned for that too. My glasses are from Classic Specs. I'll leave a link down below. Starting with some of the first jobs I ever had as a tattoo person. Some of you guys know that I worked at McDonald's for a very, very long time. I worked at McDonald's for about 7 years. It was the first job I ever had, and it was the first job I had as an extremely modified person, and when I first started getting tattoos. Every McDonald's has different policies. I have been approached by different people who said they couldn't have tattoos at their McDonald's and they couldn't have piercings at their McDonald's. But you can see in a couple of these pictures, I have a lot of piercings, and I started to get tattoos, very visible tattoos. A lot of my coworkers had tattoos too. A lot of my coworkers had neck tattoos, hand tattoos, and I was never yelled at or disciplined for having tattoos. I actually worked up in McDonald's and eventually became my store manager. And because I was like 18, 19, 20 years old, I felt like maybe this was big times for me. But then again, it's McDonald's, so maybe just because I put in a lot of time, they gave me a lot of benefits. I actually did end up going to HAMU. You can see in this picture of my class, I wasn't like super stand out. I didn't have a lot of tattoos then, but when I went to McDonald's school, again, I was not treated any differently because I had tattoos, and I did work up to get a higher position in my McDonald's class. I don't think there's anything wrong with working at McDonald's. I worked there for a really long time with a lot of great people who are all at different points in their life. And before you comment, like, aren't you vegan? I actually became vegan at working at McDonald's. My very first day at HAMU, I was vegan, and we had a class all about taste testing, and I couldn't participate. It was pretty cool. But yeah, they are responsible for a lot of, things. But you gotta support your family, you gotta support yourself, and it is a job that you can get with tattoos and piercings. After that, I worked as a telemarketer. I was a telemarketer for about 6 months. As a telemarketer, our only dress code was to dress nice, which basically meant no sweatpants and no Ugg boots, because dressing nice was sometimes just what I wore at school that day, and then I would go to be a telemarketer. I never had any problems there, but my telemarketing job was for a mortgage company, and when the economy crashed, I lost my job. But that was okay, because I was always treated really chill there. No issue about being a tattooed or modified person. After that, I worked at Kmart, where I did start getting more visible piercings and some visible tattoos. A lot of tattooed people definitely did work there, and I would see them every day. One of the stockmen, I remember he was really heavily tattooed up the neck, but I don't know if that is a Kmart policy that is in their handbook or that is up to the discretion of the hiring manager. My hiring manager didn't really like me that much, but I don't know if that was just her old salty opinion or the opinion of Kmart. I worked at Target for 6 months when I lived in Texas, and I think that Target is a great place to work if you have tattoos, if you have fashion color hair, if you have piercings. I worked there with piercings and with red hair and with visible tattoos. I was never asked to cover them. I was just asked to stay in dress code, which you guys are probably familiar with, the red top and the khaki bottoms. But my khakis were like skinny khakis. Like, I kept the uniform pretty cool and pretty experimental and up to me. I know my friend Amanda works at Target, and she has a lot of fashion colors and a lot of piercings too. So Target is definitely an option for you. I tell people all the time, Target is one of the best jobs I ever had. There was a ton of employee appreciation and different employee incentives, lots of pizza parties that I couldn't participate in, but I like soda sometimes. So Target was really cool, definitely an open policy. When I moved to Philadelphia, I did a lot of freelance stuff as a model. And you guys are probably really familiar with tattooed models and modeling being an option for a tattooed person. I mean, a lot goes into that, of course, depending on what you look like, how tattooed you are, how talented you are, because modeling is super hard, and I have not tried to do it again since my short time modeling because I felt like I went into a lot of unhealthy habits being a model, but I think that there are models who do it right and who do it healthy and responsibly, and I wasn't able to like keep up with that. But it was definitely fun while I did it, and I think being tattooed would either attract photographers or detract them. I have been told that I have too many tattoos, or that they specifically weren't looking for tattooed models. I had one gig where I had red hair, obviously, and I was selected so my red hair would be braided into like a brunette's hair for like a little cool thing. So definitely being alternative and having piercings and stuff was beneficial to me when I was modeling for that like 5 days. But then again, it's also really hard, and I would say if that's something that you are ambitious with, definitely keep an open mind, because there were a ton of people who did turn me down for having too many tattoos. And then you also have to understand what your comfort level is, because as a tattooed person, you might feel like you have to expose yourself a lot more to show more of your tattoos. I know me, I have a lot of tattoos like on my torso, but I also wasn't comfortable with any nude modeling, so that was kind of a give and take as well. So it's just kind of up to you and what you're comfortable with. After my very short-lived modeling career, I started working at a boutique on South Street. And being tattooed and being like cool and in trend was definitely something that really worked in my benefit, working in a boutique. And this could be your career if you wanted to. There are boutiques out there that will pay you and you get commission, and it can be a really great atmosphere. And looking trendy and having tattoos can work in your benefit. And then there are also places that might be more upscale or whatever, or low scale, who aren't into the vibe. So you definitely have to go in and feel out the vibe, feel out the manager, and see if you belong there. I think being cool worked for me for a while when I worked like at a, it was like a streetwear, street art, BMX boutique on South Street. And I never had to cover up my tattoos unless I wanted to. And it was really cool, really chill vibe. When I didn't even really interview, I kind of just walked in, asked if I could work there, and they said yes. Later after that, I worked as a lifeguard and a kayak instructor on the at Penn's Landing. With that, I could be tattooed, there was no issue. I had red hair and piercings, and the boss never said one thing about it. I worked outside, and I also worked with summer camps very closely with children, and it was never an issue. No one ever thought that I was weird or different or irresponsible. There was never any issue with how I looked and how I could work with children or with the lives of children. Working there did require a couple certifications, first aid certifications and everything like that, and all of my training I was never discriminated against as a tattooed modified person. I think people recognized that I was eager to work outside and do something I had never done before, and it was really fun. I did that for about 2 years and loved like every minute of it. Working with the public, though, sometimes can be difficult, especially because as a lifeguard, you're usually outside all day, so you're wearing a tank top, you're wearing shorts, and sometimes you feel really exposed. So people talking to you and asking you about your tattoos and touching you can be really inappropriate and really tiring. So there were days where I would wear like really light leggings just to cover up my leg tattoos, or some days I would wear a light hoodie to cover up my arm tattoos, just because the public was more of the issue and not the employer. But that was my own call to wear long sleeves and wear leggings, just because some days I didn't want to talk about my tattoos, and sometimes it was really tiring or could be really distracting from the instructions that I would give to people, especially when it's safety instructions to not tip your kayak. It just was a time where you wanted people to focus on words you were saying and not words written on your body. But I understand, and I know that there is a really high interest for tattoos, so I would say most people I talked to about them and was happy to, but anyone grabbing me or touching me, I would remind it was inappropriate. Just as a non-tattooed person, no one should grab you either. After working at the kayak rental, I got a job at a coffee shop in a high area market for tourism and different food attractions. At this job, I was asked to make my hair a natural color and take out my piercings. However, my tattoos were perfectly fine and they were able to be exposed. I went to my job interview wearing a cardigan but a pencil skirt, so my employer definitely knew they were hiring a tattooed person. I did want to come in a professional dress though, as I would to any job interview, and tattoos are my skin, so I could have chose to wear pantyhose and covered them, but I also didn't want my employer to hire me under false pretenses. So if you find yourself in a situation like that where you don't know how to dress for your job interview, I would say dress completely naturally, how you would normally, and forget the idea that you have tattoos. And if your employer has no idea that you have tattoos and they hire you because you're qualified, then you're hired. And I think that that's perfectly fine and it's not necessarily deceptive. But because my employer told me right away, no red hair, I thought, okay, well, let me show a little tattoo just in case that's not okay too. After I was hired, I had a couple weeks to take out the piercings because some of them had to be removed by a piercer and I couldn't just take them out. So there was a grace period. However, there was a strict dress policy against my red hair and my piercings. And because it was really important to me to get that job, as the kayak rental was no longer a place anymore and it was bought out, it was kind of my only lifeline, and it was a really good job opportunity, especially with my qualifications and my food safety certifications from working at McDonald's for so long, that it was worth taking out my piercings, but they were also really okay with my tattoos. I haven't heard any coffee shop policies where tattoos aren't okay. Even people still tell me now that it is a little crazy that the coffee shop had a no piercings policy, but because it was in a big market, you never know whose policy is whose. I'm not 100% sure what the Starbucks policy is because different people tell me different things very often. I know that piercings weren't okay and now they are okay, and you can have larger gauge jewelry in your ears, but you can't have facial piercings, or you can. I don't exactly know what the policy is. People tell me different things all the time. Definitely leave in the comments below if you are a modified tattooed person who works at Starbucks or you're familiar with any of the policies. I think it definitely depends store to store, so definitely let us know, because I always think of Starbucks as like my backup job or like my backup plan. So let me know if you think that too, because as a like coffee qualified person, I always think about that. Currently, right now, the job I have today, I am a salon apprentice assistant, and I can look however I want. It is definitely encouraged in my field to express yourself as much as possible through fashion, through body modification, through hairstyles. So I have a lot of forgiveness in what I do, and there are no limits to how I can look. I know that everybody doesn't have the same opportunity to be a hairstylist as me, and I just want to say that I did not choose this path because I was a tattooed person. I didn't flip through a Rolodex of tattooed places I could work and go, hairstylist, okay, I'll try that one. This is something I knew I wanted to do. Even my beauty school had a no tattoos policy, the beauty school that I went to. And even though I spoke to a director about this policy and she told me that it was okay, a lot of times I found myself covering my tattoos. We were given 2 long sleeve uniforms and 2 short sleeve uniforms, and more often than not, I opted for the long sleeve uniform. And similarly to my experience working on the docks or even at the coffee shop where I was asked a lot of questions about my tattoos, so often I would cover up. Covering up at beauty school was something I decided to do. It was not something I was told to do. Just because I wanted to learn as much as I could, and I wanted my work to speak for me, and I never wanted to be that tattooed girl. I wanted to be someone who was learning and who may have given you a great haircut or maybe gave you a terrible haircut. So hiding my tattoos was something I chose to do. Now, as a salon assistant, having tattoos and having my tattoos out is something that I pick and choose. Just like if I decide to wear pink one day, I have to really put that in my mindset, like, girl, we're wearing pink. We're wearing pink. I'm kind of the same way about my tattoos being out. Like, okay, Tuesday, we'll have our tats out. But Wednesday, let's wear a maxi skirt. And I can kind of plan just like that, because sometimes I just don't have the spirit to teach and tell people about tattoo culture and how I'm tattooed, and sometimes my tattoos don't mean anything. Some people don't like that. What does that mean? Birds are cool. That's it. Birds. Pretty cool, right? They can fly. It's pretty cool. That's it. That's the story. What was your mom a bird? Yeah. Those are some of the jobs I have had as a tattooed person who allowed me to be tattooed. Honestly, I've never ever been turned down for a job other than a modeling job for being a tattooed person. I have never been told to cover up my tattoos, but I have been encouraged just by the clientele or the customers that approach me in that field. So it is kind of up to you if you want to show your tattoos or not, or let your coworkers know you have tattoos or not. But I think everybody has seen, the professor who wears like a collar with the tie, and then when he goes home at night, he undoes the tie and he's just tatted. I think we're going to run into a lot of people who hide their tattoos and never even tell you, or someone can have a little tattoo and it's out and no one really cares. I have hand tattoos and they have never, ever kept me from getting a job. I mean, I'm not a high roller. I dropped out of college, but still, I've found my way in this world and I've done it very comfortably, tattoos or not. Let me know what your jobs are, if it's okay that you're tattooed, if you keep your tattoos private for your own reasons, or if you're allowed to work at your job and it doesn't matter at all. I love you guys. Thanks for watching and staying tuned always. You're my favorite people. Tattoo Talk Tuesday playlist will be down below if you want to catch up on some previous Tattoo Talk Tuesdays. They are getting out of control, and you guys make it all happen. I love you guys, and until next time, thumbs up, subscribe, and we'll see you next Tuesday. Bye! Hey everybody, it is Qcknd, and welcome back to another episode of 5 Fact Friday. I know you guys hate when I sit over here, but I already